Hi, this is Allison from Heart of the Matter Yoga, and I'm here with my daddy. We're going to be talking about breathing. We're going to talk about Ujjayi Breath or Ujjayi Pranayama, which is one of the most common breath exercises used in yoga. But first I want to just talk about breathing in general. We tend to breathe just in the top portion of our lungs. Short, shallow, quick breaths, and our breathing really affects our mood. So when we're breathing short and shallow, it can contribute to anxiety and irritability and other type things that trouble our world. So if we can learn to breathe deeper down into the full expanse of our lungs, it can really help with our happiness. So one of the first things we're going to do as we get ready to practice Ujjayi Breath is to practice breathing more deeply into the lungs. So I want you to release all of the muscles around your abdomen. Release the diaphragm muscle that cuts underneath the ribs, and take in a full deep belly breath. Really let it go here. Good. Exhale and release it. You can release it nose or mouth, whatever's comfortable. Do that a few more times. And if you at home are in front of a mirror, see if you can do it without your shoulders lifting. So when you're taking a really deep breath and your shoulders lift, that's a good indication that you're breathing high in the lungs rather than getting down deep into the belly. Think opera singer, like down, fill it up. Ooh. Give it a shot.
All right, here we go.
You don't have to sing, but you can if you want.
I don't know if I could hit that high now.
Deep belly breath. Literally allow your belly to open up, to hold the breath. Good. Nice. Yeah, and we're not really breathing into the abdomen, but as we breathe into the lower part of the lungs, the organs in the abdomen move out of the way. As the diaphragm's here, it's shaped almost like a jellyfish, right at the base of the lungs. And as the diaphragm pulls down to make room for breath, it's going to push some of the other things out of the way. That's why we get that full tummy look when we're taking a really deep breath. And that's not the only part of the lungs that we can breathe into. We can actually breathe into the sides and into the back. So the way I like to practice this is by taking my fingers to the side ribs, and the little muscles between the ribs are called intercostals, and they can get really tight. So sometimes they constrict our breathing laterally. So as you inhale, see if you can allow your rib cage to expand wide. Good. I think this feels so good. Yeah, good.
I definitely feel expanding there, yeah.
Yeah, some in the front and the back and out to the sides. And then if you take your hands to your back, see if you can reach up to the lower part of your ribs and breathe there. Take your breath to where your hands are placed. And this kind of deep breathing can really help release anxiety and release feelings of irritability. Breathing deep into the edges of the lungs. Right there at the back body.
It helps to put your hands directed a little bit, I think. Yeah.
I like to bring my hands to the parts of the body that I'm trying to breathe into, just to bring more awareness. Yeah. And right there at your back, where your diaphragm connects, right there close to T12, L1, the lower part of the thoracic, the high part of the lumbar spine. It's also where the big muscles of your low back connect, the quadratus lumborum muscles, or QLs as most people call them. And this is fascinating. It's also where your main hip flexors, your psoas, connect. So when you can breathe back there, you're bringing opening to the low back, you're bringing opening to the hip flexors. And as we all know, if you sit for a long time, like maybe you go on a long car trip, and those muscles get so tight in the hip flexors and in the low back, it's irritating.
Yeah.
So this is one of the quick and easy ways to open that area, by taking your breath there. Good. So that's good. Breathing 101. And
now,
now
good stretch this way too.
Yeah. And your shoulders, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. So now we'll move on to Ujjayi Breath. And like I mentioned, Ujjayi Breath is the most common breath used in the yoga asana practice. Ujjayi means victorious or victoriously uprising. At its root is the word jai or jaya, which means victorious, victory. So we have this victoriously uprising breath that we're cultivating throughout our practice. And it also allows for, it gives us something to focus on, so that it allows for a centered, focused practice on the mat. So here's how you do Ujjayi Breath. You breathe in and out through the nose, but constrict the muscles of the throat, the epiglottis muscles, gently. Gently, not so hard that it cuts off the flow of the breath, but just enough that your awareness is brought to that spot, that you hear it.
Just tighten in here?
Yeah. So here's a way to practice. Imagine you're fogging up glasses or goggles and go like this. Yeah, do it. Yeah. And when you make that sound, the muscles at the back of the throat constrict in order to make that sound. Now this is a little bit harder, but see if you can do the same thing on the inhale. So instead of, see if you can go. Try
and
it.
Breathe through your nose?
No, through your mouth for
Okay.
practice. Yeah. Usually on the way in it's harder. But that's that's isolating the muscles that we're going to be using as we sip the breath through the throat. In through the nose and then down through the throat and then out through the straw of the throat and then back out through the nose.
Okay.
So Ujjayi Breath sounds like when you find a seashell and you hold it to your ear, you'll hear the ocean. Or it sounds like what a lot of people say, that it sounds like what we heard in the womb. I like to say it sounds like a Darth Vader after having done a lot of yoga. Very quiet and calmed and happy Darth Vader. Okay?
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know if he ever got to that point. So let's try it. Ujjayi Breath, in through the nose, gentle constriction of the throat muscles, back out through the throat and out the nose. Okay? Good. Good, relax. Good. Breathe into your belly. Breathe into your sides, breathe into your back. It can help to give your Ujjayi Breath a count, like maybe breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever feels comfortable. Good. And the sound you hear should be in the throat. If you hear it in your nose, try to relax there and bring more awareness to your throat muscles, just like we touched our ribs.
I get that, because if you make that sound, you feel your throat constricting.
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah, just enough that it gives us something to focus on in practice, and it helps center the mind. Yeah. So you can touch your throat, just like we touched our ribs or back, just to help with awareness there as we find this sound. Yeah, very good. So the next step is to take Ujjayi Breath to your asana practice. So when you're on the mat, begin your Ujjayi Breath when you're just sitting, centering at the beginning of class. As you move into warm-ups, move with your breath, gentle and steady. Inhale, gentle and steady, exhale. As the poses become more challenging, you may lose the Ujjayi Breath. No big deal. Just come back to it. Come back to it as a practice, just like we practice any other pose. Practice this pranayama or breath. Prana means breath, and the yama means the control or the restraint of that. So pranayama altogether is this breath exercise. That's Ujjayi Pranayama. I hope that's helpful. Enjoy. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks, Daddy.